Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to Anchoring Our Emotions. I Today we're going to talk about not that, we can't say that. Adult candy, casinos, how I won $30,000 twice in 6 months, and I have receipts. So, I used to sell drugs in Orlando, Florida, and I had got arrested and got a trafficking charge. I talked about it earlier on my show that I had, but I had gotten to the point where I was selling a pound of sugar a day, a pound of adult candy a day, and it was scary. And when you get into that moment, you when you get to that level, it's a gift and a curse. And you don't realize what you're doing until it's done, and you don't realize how to stop until you're stopped, if that makes sense. I was grateful that I got arrested. Not the first time, but the third time. I was glad that it was finally over. Like, I quite literally said to the guy, I'm glad this is finally over. Like, I will never do this again, and I'll never be in this again. And he said something like, oh, you think that's going to get you out of this? And I was like, no, I'm just glad this is over with. Because I will never put myself in this situation again. Now, my manifest this goes out to all the plugs, or all the people who got a plug, or whatever. It doesn't matter if you're a junkie. It doesn't matter if you're the plug, or it don't matter if you're the middleman. You're all chasing the same thing. You can argue with me if you want. I'm not going to argue back because I'm just speaking my truth. Okay? Now, I had gotten to the point where I had to change my identity and go into a different character, which is my Anastasia Banks. I started off being a drag queen, then I was always a drag queen. And then once I had got caught the first time, I knew I had to change my location and everything else. So instead, what I did was, through the phone, I told all my clients, all my customers, that I was leaving. And I had all the boxes next to the door. When my last customer came, I think I had like, I don't know, $5,000. I told everybody I was leaving, so they all stocked up. And including all my customers. Well, no, I told all my customers I was leaving. So I got my last chunk of money. Hey, bye. See you later. I shut the door. And I sat there for a second. And that's when my addiction really began. I got high because I never used to get high unless I was with customers. Because I didn't want them to be the cops, so I would make them smoke in order to, that was my trigger that they weren't, my device that they weren't a cop. So it turned from that into me winding up being a user. So Then it really started popping off because I started dressing like a woman. I must have had 96 wigs. Everything was on point. I mean, nails were done, everything was done. But I had lost who I truly was in the mix of all that. Because it was anything for that dollar. Anything for that. I think the worst part about it, even though we all have a choice in the matter, was the people that, I don't want to say that I turned them out because they wanted to get high, but if I could turn back the hands of time, I mean, I would have been a broke plug, but I would have not let people do drugs that it was their first time. And I know they were only doing it because of the illusion that I was selling. You know what I mean? And that's probably the part that kills me the most. But I had won $30,000 twice. I won like 5,000, 8,000, stuff like that at the casino. But here's my receipts. So my first year, I don't know if you can see this number right here, but it says $104,000. And then it goes on to say 104,000, and then $16,000 in free play. My name's up there at the corner. That was my first year. My second year was, it was mostly cash because I went cash the second year only with all my people. It's just harder to track. 62,000, 20,000 free play, and that's how I know that it was more. I had spent more money than the year before, but so the way that it works is this. I'm gonna make it real short and brief, and the casinos will probably take this down, but I spent a lot of time at the casino, and during COVID I lived there, and I watched everything. I was at a casino machine one time, and I knew I was about to get paid because before I started selling drugs, I worked at a very high-end restaurant, which I'm not going to disclose, which I had earned my BMW convertible with. So that was my car from before drug dealing. And I was a manager at a very high-end restaurant. And I was making $1,400 a week. I only worked from like 5 to, I don't know, 5 to 9. I was at 4 or 5 hours, I was done. So, yeah. I would take all my money that I made from selling drugs, and I would take it there and I would spend it. Well, that last check that I got from that restaurant before COVID happened, I was running a machine, and somebody had already came up to me with a business card in a black suit and said, hey, you just earned yourself a casino host, which was like, I could call her, she'll come, she'll book me a room on my way, la la la. I wanted restaurant, I wanted dinner, I wanted massage, I wanted this. Everything was, I was an elite member. I was one step away from being in the Millionaires Club. Like, you have to spend $1 million in 4 quarters, which is 4 years, in order to be in the Millionaires Club, which clearly I probably would have made it there. But I was too scared to have that money on me. Well, the lady stopped me. I only have like 1 minute left. I'm mad at the machine, at the swiping my card, and it's not giving me no money. And on my phone it says, well, they were an hour behind. The lady takes me on a walk and she's like, look, you need to treat this place like a 401k. You never know when you're going to get your money back. They'll dictate how and when you get your money back. You might get it in rewards. You might get it in free play. You might get it in, liquor bottles. You might get it in parking. You might get it in whatever, but you're going to get your money back. But at their resort. So when she said that to me, that's when I started taking all my money, my drug money, to the casino, and I said, at least I'll have a place to stay if anything hits the fan that's out of the city. And that saved my life a lot of times. Some people call me stupid. But when I look back at it, whenever I needed it, I got it. But I don't condone going to the casino. It's a lot better just to save your money. I wish I would have. And with that, I pass. Ciao.